Every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello again, and welcome to Hoosier Football Tailgate here on Thursday evening, November the 16th. The Hoosiers are getting prepared to take on the Michigan State Spartans in the Brass Spittoon Trophy game. 12 o'clock kickoff, Memorial Stadium in Bloomington, Indiana. And again, want to thank our sponsors here at Believe is Bet Online. Appreciate all they do for getting Hoosier Football Tailgate on each and every week. So appreciate their sponsorship. And remember, with everything that's all in full swing now, because you got the overlapping of seasons, so you only got college and NFL football going on. You have college and NBA basketball going on, and all those contests are heating up each and every week. Remember, Bet Online is your number one source for all wagering informations, from betting odds to news, statistic analysis, just a wealth of information there at Bet Online. And just remember, Bet Online is where the game starts. And again, I said this is our preview show for the Michigan State Spartans. The Hoosiers will take on at noon in Bloomington Memorial Stadium. Big Ten Network will carry the TV coverage of the game. And I know with the defeat of last week's overtime loss to Illinois, 48-45, I know the prospects of getting bowl eligible now are all but out the window, unless for some odd reason they would accept 5 and 7 teams this year. And I guess from Indiana's perspective, they're going to have to play with that mindset, along with this being two of the trophy games that Indiana covets each and every year. And they got one last year up at Michigan State in double overtime in a game that Indiana kind of snuck into East Lansing and came out with a victory up there in Sparty land. And so you can bet that Michigan State is going to come to Indiana on Saturday with the mindset of winning. That program's gone through a lot this year with all the debacle in the early part of the year with their head coach and, the lady that he was intertwined with. That ended up costing his job. They bring back Mark D'Antonio to kind of serve as a person to oversee the program. Now, he's not involved in the day-to-day coaching aspect of it, but he was brought back in to kind of help right the ship there. And they've struggled just about as much as the Hoosiers have struggled this year, both 1-6 in the Big Ten, 3-6 overall. And so you're going to have two teams coming to a head on Saturday afternoon with identical records. And as we go on here, I'll show you statistically and through video why these two teams mirror each other pretty equally when you look at it from the black and white of it all. Just remember, if you could find us on YouTube, subscribe there, hit the notification bell. And then if you choose to listen to just the podcast version of this, by all means, Apple and Spotify carry us there. And if you could like, comment, rate on those two platforms, those greatly help us and Hoosier Football Tailgate, and we appreciate any and all support that we can garner from everyone out there that has an interest in Indiana football and likes to be up to date on a lot of different things. uh, outside of just football season right now, working on some things with some of the recruiting that soon will be landing at the doorstep here within the next month or so. And some of the things that go involved with that, maybe some player breakdowns and things of the that Indiana has already received verbal commitments from their class, which I do still believe it's holding together, and discussed that with Matt Weaver a couple weeks ago, and he seemed pretty confident that it would. But working on some things there for after the season in terms of the recruiting and things of that nature. But we'll bring that to the forefront when the time permits. And right now, we need to talk about these Michigan State Spartans and some of the dynamics that they've had this year. They've had a situation at quarterback where they've really lost their starter, Kim. He's out for the year, or maybe he might be able to come back prior to the last game of the season. They had a freshman that they were playing, but now they've decided to red shirt. And so they've just had some of the same problems at quarterback. And what I mean there is they just haven't found the guy to be the one person to lead the team. And that's shown in some of the things offensively that they struggled with this year. Defensively, and some of that, the Holiday kid is a football player, their linebacker. Defensively, not bad. They have suffered from the standpoint of being on the field too much because their offense has not generated enough offense in different games to get them off the field. They lost to Ohio State on Saturday 38-3 in a game that Ohio State just really dominated from start to finish. And some of the things that have been going on as of right now with some of the jockeying with the Big Ten stuff. And so, Ohio State, they're still in a position, and you got Michigan right there and up to date with Michigan right now. Today it was reported that Jim Harbaugh will accept the Big Ten suspension, 3-game suspension, and I don't know what came to the change of heart on that, but it appears that now that that is no longer an issue, and Jim Harbaugh has decided to accept that suspension that the Big Ten handed down last week before the Penn State game. It only bars him from basically being on the field to coach. It doesn't bar him from any practices or any thing leading up to the games on Saturday. I don't know if I would call that a very tough suspension when you consider what they have done. But I think this is just one of those things that they probably came to an agreement that we'll do just this. You withdraw all your legal cases, and after this, we'll let the NCAA decide what is going to occur or not going to occur moving forward. So Jim Harbaugh has accepted the decision by the Big Ten Conference, and he will not coach this weekend against Maryland, nor will he be able to coach against Ohio State. So I do want to take a little bit of time here to look at some of these Big Ten standings right now as we enter that latter part of the season, that the Big Ten championship. The East in itself right now, we got the two top dogs, Ohio State and Michigan, both undefeated, not only in the conference, but overall. Both are ranked within the, the college football playoffs. Penn State at 8-2, 5-2 overall, and then you have Maryland at 6-4 and Rutgers at 6-4. Both are bowl eligible, and both will be, being able to fulfill one of the bowl spots for the Big Ten. So that's kind of what the East looks like, and then you've got the bottom with Indiana and Michigan State. Again, both identical records heading into this week of competition. The West Division, wow, it's just kind of a chaotic thing on the West. Iowa right now is 5-2, 8-2 overall, and they fired their offensive coordinator, which is Kurt Ferentz's son, because he did not meet the goal of points scored per game average and was therefore dismissed or told that he would not be moving forward with the program after this year. But it's so ironic because right now, they may not be scoring much, but their defense is really good. And there you go. I mean, they're on top of the West Division at 8-2. Nebraska, Minnesota, Northwestern, Wisconsin, Illinois, all three, all five of those teams are all tied with identical records. And if you want to try to figure out who beat who or who does what, I go right ahead, because that is what really is kind of throwing this all into a craziness from the West perspective. And we all know that for all practical purposes and arguments, there's no question that the East Division is a much tougher division than the West. But that won't matter after this year, because this will all go bye-bye, and it will just be one big happy conference, no divisions, and the entrance of the teams coming in from the Pac-12 next year, Oregon, Washington, USC, UCLA are all coming into the Big Ten Conference next year. So that will add a new dynamic to it. But as you can see right now, the way the season is in the West Division, theoretically, there's only one team that is bowl eligible, and the rest will depend on the final 2 weeks on determining who would or who may not achieve bowl eligibility. But that gives you at least a little bit of an idea of where the Big Ten is and how that may or may not impact the divisional races. But it looks like Iowa right now in the West will be the team that will either take on Michigan or Ohio State in the Big Ten championship. And I can't imagine whoever Iowa takes on that game, I doubt if it's going to be all that great of a game. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. But again, just to update everybody who may have just logged on or just started the audio aspect of it, Jim Harbaugh has accepted the Big Ten Conference's suspension and will not coach the final 3 weeks of the season. The final 2 weeks of the season, with Maryland this week and Ohio State next weekend. So Big Ten and Michigan come to an agreement, and Harbaugh will not coach for the rest of the year, or the scheduled games left in the Big Ten Conference moving forward. Also, the other news is Northwestern, I believe, is going to remove the interim tag. At least that's the way it looks, to elevate the David Braun to the head coaching position. Now, if you remember back in the summer, Fitz at Northwestern having a crazy thing of some hazing and things of that magnitude was alleged. It cost him his job. Dave Braun, who just joined the coaching staff there, has been elevated. And you just saw the Big Ten standings. He's got them at 5-5, 3-4 in the Big Ten West. And they feel like they've got the right man to lead their program. So they're going to name David Braun the full-time head coach for the Northwestern Wildcats. So a lot of news happening these final weeks of the Big Ten schedule. and we'll see what all happens as we move forward going through the rest of the next 2 weeks. Well, let's look at some of the statistical things that we need to consider when we're talking about Michigan State. We got, again, their breakdown of Michigan State's I just want to make sure I got the right things going here. Statistically, looking at this from an offense versus the Michigan State defense, as you can see, again, just like last week against Illinois, a lot of similarities on both sides of the football. IU, again, under performing in total offense to what Michigan State is allowing. Third downs has been decent for IU. Now they're back up to about 38%, and Illinois has been actually decent at 33%, and they've been pretty decent with the rushing per game, only giving up 133.4 yards a game. So their up front is pretty good. They're passing, they're giving up 235 yards per game, but they've hauled in 9 interceptions. So that's 368 total yards per game. Indiana averaging 324 yards per game, 38.3% on third down. Efficiency, fourth down efficiency is 35%, but you can see Michigan State with a big 70%, and then turnover margin, IU is pretty good with that. So that's offense versus Michigan State's defense. Got a typo here already and left Illinois up, so throw the flag on the host for not recognizing that. But Indiana's defense, 30 points a game. There we go. Michigan State's offense only averaging 16.67 points a game, 102 yards rushing, 203 yards passing. They've thrown 10 interceptions on the year, only 305 yards per game, 32% on third down, 50% on fourth down, and then the IU defense, 161 yards per game on the rush yards per game, and 230 yards passing average per game. Now IU's defense has hauled in 8 interceptions, 391 yards of total offense, 300, and then 37% on third down and 50% on fourth down. Some players to be aware of in this Michigan State offense and defense. Nate Carter, the running back, he's 5'10", 200 pounds. Pretty good size kid, 4.3 yards average a game, and 4 touchdowns and 71 yards on yards per game average. He's their kind of go-to guy in the backfield. Caton Hauser is their quarterback. He is 6'3", 215 pounds. He's only completing 51% of his passes. He's thrown 2 interceptions, only thrown for 766 yards. That comes to about 85 yards per game. And he has kind of been the quarterback of record here over the last since Kim got hurt, and their freshman, who they did play one game, they've just decided to redshirt him and save his year. Wide receiver, the Foster Jr. kid, Montori Foster, 6'4", 220, so nice size, good length, 34 receptions, 2 touchdowns, 447 yards total, and he's pulling in 44.7 yards per game. He could be a matchup problem for the IU secondary, being that he's 6'4" and he's got a little bit of jump and some decent speed. The other receiver for them is this Trey Mosley, number 17, 6'2", 200. He's had 28 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He's averaging 36 yards a game. And this Tyrell Henry, 6 foot 175. He's really come along here the last few weeks, getting more and more targets. 20 receptions on the year, 3 touchdowns, 18 yards per game. But over the last few weeks, he's really been somebody that they have targeted a lot more in the last 3 weeks. Looking at their defense, I said number 27, Cal Holiday, 6'1", 235-pound linebacker, 74 total tackles on the year, 5 tackle for losses and 1 sack. Malik Spencer's the other tackler that is close to Holiday. He's a 6'1", 195-pound DB. He's got 62 tackles on the year. Brule, the linebacker, 6'2", 240, 51 tackles, 7.5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks on the year. So he's somebody that you got to be aware of in pass protection, because he's shown to have get home pretty good. And then the other one is Jordan Hall, 6'3", 235-pound linebacker, 50 total tackles, 5.5 for tackles for loss, and 2.5 sacks. So those 2 guys at the end are some guys that you got to be aware of for Indiana, because they can get home. So they got to be somebody you're thinking of in your pass protection, that you're identifying and maybe trying to help in some occasions. And that's one thing that IU, I still think, isn't up to speed with all the time as their pass pro. It's still a little shoddy at times. So those 2 kids you got to be aware of on Saturday afternoon. Michigan State, talent-wise, they've always had talent. They've been a team that has mostly been a ground pound team with some play action pass concepts. But they haven't had it this year. Their offensive line's not very good, and I think it's shown, and they've had so much distractions off the field with everything this year that has really impacted their week-to-week playing at Michigan State. And I think they'll give IU a pretty good ball game Saturday afternoon, because in their mindset, they're looking at IU just like IU's looking at them. This is a chance to win another game in that regard. Let's take a look here at some video of these Michigan State Spartans. And this is the game against Nebraska, which they won 20-17. And at this time, Nebraska, it was 5-3 overall. So this was a huge loss that Michigan State gave Nebraska. But here's their defensive line in the rush game. You can see that they do give up some chunk plays every now and then. Offense, here's the Hauser kid. Nice throw down the middle. Now, this is to their tight end that they hit. This kid is a redshirt freshman, I believe. But you can see that Nebraska got caught looking in the backfield, and they got the chunk play to the tight end. So, again, this game, 2017 for Michigan State. Here's Michigan State doing like a little play action pass, and there they are getting to the quarterback. That was one of the defensive linemen. I wouldn't classify them as a big blitz team. I do think they feel they can get home with their front 4 and maybe bring in a linebacker here and then. But for the most part, they do a pretty good job of getting pressure. And here's one where they just throw it up. It's 3rd and 19. get one of the, kind of freebie interceptions. So that one's like getting a punt down there. But Michigan State suffers a big sack here. I think this was the true freshman in that time. Now here's the big play for Nebraska, hitting out of 5 wides, hitting the third man down the chute. Structurally right now, Michigan really doesn't have too many people in the box because they're bouncing out, kind of playing a two man under concept. What's going to happen is they're going to get this cat right down the chute here. He's going to go right down the chute, and they're going to hit him on the big play because the safeties are way off the hashes here. So this is good recognition by the quarterback, and he really doesn't look him off, hits him in stride, big chunk play. That's the one thing that I think you can get against these guys is the chunk plays. Here's a kind of a zone read concept. Very good. This is a very good design play, and I think it may just be a total quarterback deal, but they got a guy coming in motion. He's going to take first man outside, and then this guy's going to the tight end is he's going to come over. Whoops. The tight end's supposedly going to come over and also be a part of this blocking scheme here. Whoops. Mouse is not cooperating. You can kind of see it here. There they go. Better. This guy here, he's going to arc release up here, which means they're reading this guy right here. And they've got 2 guys coming for these 2. So this is a well-designed play by Nebraska. And he walks into the end zone. So well-designed play by Nebraska, taking advantage of numbers in that scheme. Michigan State, hey, they're full of it. They've got some, trickeration up their sleeve. They throw a double pass here, and they hit it for a big chunk play, with Nebraska leading 7-3 at this point, late in the second. And then down here in the red zone again, taking the one-on-one. This is bad defense. How this guy, I don't know why he thinks he's got center field help. He's down here. He's outside shade on this guy, but he doesn't have any help in center field. I mean, that's all, vacated because the way they're playing. And this cat's on the outside of him. I mean, that's, man. Not good defense there, in my opinion. Here's another 3rd and 18. Get off the field, right? Nope. They hit a big chunk play over the middle. Just kind of running what we call exchange routes. Outside guys are running the streaks. Inside guys are technically running the benders. And good throw and catch on a 3rd and forever, and they get the first down. 10-7 right now, second half. Again, pressure, being able to get to the quarterback with only rushing 4. Now, this is a bad thing here because the way this is being protected and everything is almost as if they were either supposed to read the end and he was supposed to hand it off, or, they just got caught into something bad there with protection-wise and gave up a cheap sack. Okay, 3rd and 11. One thing is sometimes the quarterback's going to escape a lot, and that's what this cat did against them a lot and gets the first down. But you can see the pressure that Michigan State can get pretty easily with just rushing force. So they don't have to play a ton of man coverage. They can play uh, sound coverage. Again, Michigan State against a very good Nebraska defense for the most part. And they found holes and got some big chunk plays in this game a couple weeks ago. It's 10-10 now, and um, they just were able to turn it up a notch or two. They got some key sacks like there. That's like the third sack on the day. Here's Michigan State. This time they got home finally against them with a four-man rush, playing coverage in behind on 1st and 10. So they were expecting it. Here's in the fourth, still 13-10. What a throw here. This is a huge throw and catch. This is a freshman, I believe. And that's just a great throw and catch one-on-one. And again, Michigan State does have the talent, I believe, on the outside. It's pretty good. They can get some balls down the field for some chunk plays and stuff and make a huge difference in this game. And then here, another great throw down the middle. But again, I'm not sure what Nebraska's doing here. They're turning this guy loose off the edge. Yep, yeah, that was the tight end or tackle's responsibility. But the quarterback does a great job. Great throw down the middle. Again, chunk plays. Again, those are the huge things that Indiana needs on Saturday. Again, that helped them immensely against Illinois. And when you don't get them consistently enough, it really hinders you as an offense. Now, here's a drive they had going, and he tries to go back to that vertical that they threw earlier in the game, but this time safety's right there over top of it, and he just sails it, and they get a pick. And next thing you know, Illinois or Michigan State singing their fight song because they made just enough plays against Nebraska, who, like I said, came into that game 5-3. And again, that was a good quality win for them. And it hurt Nebraska's chances in the West. And after this game, they went on another 2-game skid. So Michigan State get a quality win there. And against Nebraska, and we watched the Maryland game from early in the year. Maryland really kind of handed it to them, but this game will be a game again similar to that Illinois game. You gotta eliminate any opportunities of giving up cheap scores, taking advantage of field position as an offense, and getting touchdowns and getting the chunk plays. And if they can do that again on Saturday and not give up what they did last Saturday, they should be in pretty good shape against this Michigan State ball club. And, again, I'm just going to provide you my thoughts on kind of some things that I think that are important for this ball game. I think the Hoosiers got to score again around 28 points, and they've got to hold the Michigan State to 21. That'll be a key thing for this game, is not to give Michigan State more than 21 points, and IU's offense has to continue to score and get to that 28-point objective. Offensively, got a rush for 175, pass for 250. I do think those are very viable goals. And again, it would also show some improvement in the run game for Indiana, where they have still struggled to get a decent run game going. But the Holland kid, I think he's a huge factor for Indiana's run game. Then if you look at the defense, big one here, hold them to 100 yards rushing. I think they are capable of doing that. I think Indiana's front six are better. I think they're going to be challenged this week. I think they're embarrassed by the performance they had against Illinois. And I do think you're going to see a different defense on Saturday. And then in the passing game, hold them to 225 yards. And to do that, you can't have cover bust. And that's what Indiana was plagued by last Saturday at Illinois, was a numerous amount of coverage bust and things of that nature. So I do think you'll see a different and a very motivated Indiana defense on Saturday. And if that can complement what Indiana's offense can do, they got a chance to win the ball game. Got to win the turnover margin. That's something that they were good at Illinois with. They didn't, Sorsby has done pretty good with managing the game and not taking unnecessary sacks nor making bonehead throws that ends up in the opposite color jersey's hands. And then defense, they've got to continue to work and gain fumbles and interceptions. And again, Michigan State is a team that has proven they'll put the ball on the ground. And then again, special teams, you got to win it. You can't have any crimes against the team. And that means no botched punts, no having awareness of what punting group or what special team group is up, and not having a guy looking for another guy on a team. They've got to be into the game, and then they've got to utilize their punter like they have been to help change field position in the game. But that's one thing that Indiana needs to do. And if they can get a big chunk of yardage on a punt return or a kickoff return, that would be good as well. I thought Saturday against Illinois, they had a couple. So, again, nothing overly unrealistic for this Hoosier football team. I do think all those are well under control in terms of opportunities for them to achieve. And I do believe they can beat Michigan State. I don't think Michigan State is a team right now that is the type of Michigan State team that we've seen through past years. And most of it's because of what has occurred over this season. And their kids have gone through a lot, and it's been a big distraction. So I do believe Indiana has that opportunity on Saturday afternoon to get another big win at Michigan at Indiana. Memorial Stadium on Saturday, with it being the final game those seniors will play in that facility, as the bucket game is at Purdue again this year. And just a reminder, that has been designated as a noon kickoff in West Lafayette next Saturday. But a lot of emotions will come into play Saturday for these seniors that are playing their final game. I hope that they get to go out with a big W, playing their final game in Memorial Stadium. A lot of these kids that are seniors have given a lot to that program, and it'd be nice to see them get a big victory on Saturday with a nice sized crowd there to cheer them on. And again, if you can't make it down to the Bloomington area, it is on the Big Ten Network or the Fox Sports app. You can find it there. And that probably does it for me and Michigan State for tonight. Thanks for watching Hoosier Football Tailgate here on the Believe Network, and for Bet Online support and sponsorship. Again, remember, if you're put your first deposit in to Bet Online and you use the promo code BLEAV, you'll get 50% of that deposit back to you in your account. So that's a nice gesture for you to bet, for you can have some fun there on this Saturday and Sunday with the basketball, NFL, and all the different sports that are occurring right now. So remember, Bet Online is where the game starts. Also, just a repeat, noon Saturday kickoff on the Big Ten Network, Senior Day in Bloomington. And once again, thank you for watching the Hoosier Football Tailgate. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, on Apple and Spotify. If you could, make a comment, rate us, give us a rating, I'd greatly appreciate that. But for now, I'm the coach, Shannon Griffith, and this has been the Hoosier Football Tailgate here on Believe.